I'm sick right now, so
Oh, that's
it
horrible.
just looks like I'm burning the midnight oil.
That's not, yeah, I had that a couple weeks ago. Not fun, especially in the summer, when it's like what, 105 degrees in Chicago?
Yeah, it ain't cool.
It's it's cooler down here than it is up there.
Yeah, probably. Maybe more humid down there.
Maybe a little bit.
Oh, there he is.
He's in the studio. Look at that.
Unmute.
Let's hear the studio voice.
Does he have makeup on?
Hello.
Yeah, you had to make yeah, you had your makeup done this morning,
Hello.
right, Brendan?
Hello.
Low powder.
Hold on. Oh, look at the fade. Look at the transition. Ooh. Watch this, guys. Watch this. Hey, how's it going? Back out to Zoom cam, serious cam, back out. Andy
like
left
your
it all
own-
on. You know what? It's like having a kids. Andy was doing some social media in here. And then, Andy, you're supposed to turn this shit off. I come in and all the lights are on. May as well have had the air conditioning down at 62.
What light? What light?
You left the whole
you're like your
system
own
on.
Fred Norris.
No, I turned it off.
No, you didn't.
Listen, hey, Andy just had a baby. Give him, he's in baby
and the
pause.
light's been plugged in.
Well, I don't know how to turn that light off, so I thought Ben.
You just unplug it.
Hey, and Andy, congratulations on your firstborn, by the way.
Thank you.
Brendan, you get to be your own Fred Norris.
Yeah,
do you have any drops? Do you have any like sound bites of Mike Anthony?
Which like little, yeah, totally. Here, let me see.
Juicy.
Michael, what were we going to talk about?
We were going to we were going to really survey the field and find out what success they've had with their smart starts and what struggles they've had. Maybe somebody's had one in the last week or two that they can comment on or discuss, and we can sort of pick it apart.
Perfect. Anybody want to volunteer? Who do we got on? We don't have a big crowd.
We got it's not so bad. 17 people and a couple. Yeah, we got some good folks here. Let's see. Andy, April, David, Ed, John, Logan, Parker, Rob, Sam, the obvious, Shane,
Sam,
Wendy.
obvious.
Anybody recently?
The funny thing, Mike. Anybody have one? You want to talk about? I was watching Todd Screama, guy that owns Summit Funding. He's got I just follow his social, or I'm on his feed. And Todd was one of the best coaches I ever had, and turned his company into a monster company, gazillionaire, makes a shit ton. He grew up on a farm. His style is very meat and potatoes, get to the point, but also has like a depth to him that's pretty awesome. I could never really get that close to him because he was kind of like CEO guy, kind of like Sam, always doing shit. But Sam's a lot more likable. Anyways, point being is that he was talking about the 4 key parts to the sale, and one was initial contact, then it was build rapport, then it was close, then it was follow-up. Those are the 4 parts to the sale. Initial contact, build rapport, close, follow-up. And he said, hey, if you rate yourself on all of those 4, like, which one are you the weakest at? And then I thought that, I was thinking about, initial contact, build rapport. I guess, in our world, I've kind of changed that because, the building rapport would be, of course, it's not a bad thing. I just think that it's the initial contact allows you to frame your value. Mm-hmm. And then the building rapport, the second thing is show your value. versus build rapport. Build rapport is part of showing your value. And if you listen to Phil Jones, exactly what to say guy, you have to create intrigue, and intrigue only happens through questions. Hey, David, man, I got this DSCR loan. It's great, man. It'll fill this hole. Do it. Yeah. Versus, David, what do you know about financing for short-term rentals? David says, well, I don't know much. Well, okay, you called me about it. What have you heard about short-term rentals and how to get a loan? Well, blah, 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 da, 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 blah, 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 blah. You know, like that's creating intrigue. And then eventually, you know, the concept would be that you keep asking what, how, tell me more. Hey, I'm not, and then something might sound like, hey, well, I'm not sure this is for you, David, but we have this program. Since you've mentioned you have a W-2 job, but you mentioned that you and your wife wanted to create like a new business and set up an LLC to protect yourself. There's a loan that's totally different. It's not like a Fannie Mae loan. It doesn't have the same pricing, the same interest rates, or the same terms. And again, I'm not sure it's for you, but I could tell you about it for the next 10 minutes, and you could decide if it's something that's a good fit for you. Like, here's my point, is that your frame is how you establish your sale, and then your closing, part 3, I think is predicated on your frame. I mean, we've all been hard closed on something. A guy knocking on the front door trying to sell us bug services.
Right. So
we've all felt that, and we're not ready. So I think, to me, when I was hearing that, like my weakest part is follow-up. I hate the follow-up. Michael, what's your weakest part?
Probably follow-up as well, I'd say. Yeah. Now, it could be delegated as well, right? I mean,
yeah.
Brian on my team does a really good job follow-up. I mean, we have a nurture part of the MRO, and so I know that's.
But if someone's not responding, do you like following up? You don't?
Pardon me?
You don't like following up?
I mean, it depends on I think it depends on how close we are and the size of the deal, right? Yeah. If it's hot and they're sort of right there on the precipice and they're just about ready to commit, then yeah, I'm going to take that.
Okay.
If it's you know, just trying to get the initial call, and you know, yeah, Brian's going to work on those mainly. Yeah.
Got it. David, what's your weakest part? Initial contact, building rapport, closing, or follow-up?
No, follow-up without a doubt, because that part sucks. You know, it's easy to develop the relationship and get them interested and wow them with all your knowledge and whatever, and your good looks, and you know, get that part. But then, you know, 2 months later, they still haven't bought the house, and now what?
Yep.
I can't help but stare at your your amazing setup. And
hey, just so you know, David, it costs $24,000.
Wow.
Hey, you spare no
It'll be
expense.
cheaper for me to fly down to you.
You know what? The guy Ryan Grams that does this, he's a pimp. I've got I got 4 mics. And at the time when he sold me on it, I had done one in my old office that was 6. And he goes, hey, I got the Ferrari that'll make you everybody can use it. You can have realtors. He kind of did his whole thing. And I just said, well, how much is that? And he's like, it's $23,600. I was like, fucking do it. Because I'm just going to sit here and regret if I didn't. It's kind of like that Rolex watch I never bought. A Daytona rose gold, black face, rubber band. It's about 40G now. And when I liked it, it was like 18 to 20. Should have bought it.
Yeah.
I wear pretty regular shit, David, but man, that watch is cool. And somebody keeps going, well, then why don't you just do it? And I'm like, because I don't want to have a $40,000 watch. I didn't want to have an $18,000 watch. But
it's going to be an $80,000 watch in a couple of years. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Invest it into your audio visual. I mean, that's where it's at. That's the investment portion, right?
Yeah.
That's the investment piece.
Well, I did learn this, that like showing your mic is kind of like, that's a status symbol. Did you know?
Montclair.
That's-
Is that a Montclair pen?
This is a Mont Blanc.
Mont Blanc, sorry.
I got it in Montreal, and it's got my name on it, and it's
Wow.
This is my
these
Keller pen.
These are about $700, and then you can get a wide tip Mont Blanc refill, Pacific Blue. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
By the way, my wife is like, that pen is more important to you than half the shit in our lives. You're always like, where's my pen? So, Parker, what's your weakness of the four? Initial contact, build rapport, closing, or follow-up?
I think right now it's just the initial contact, because I say that because I can get in and I can build the rapport and I can close and I can follow up and everything like that. But I think, building those skills in the initial contact just to know what to do, to follow the process.
Okay, is this
And
for
then-
realtors or clients?
For both, for
Okay.
clients too. But I think I struggle with, for some reason I do the steps, but then I always get to the smart start, and then, the pre-approval or something comes out, and then they're shopping me. And I guess that's just normal. But
Are you meeting with people face to face?
I don't. I'm remote, so I do everything,
Where are you
Zoom, stuff
physically?
like that.
Where are you physically?
Central Florida.
And then where are your clients?
I'm licensed in 17 different states right now. So
But where-
it can
are
be
you-
Georgia,
are you
California,
calling on
Virginia.
Are you calling on local agents?
I work with a team. So I'm very involved with the team as their national realtor and sponsor for their lead site. So, there's a lot of things that we're working on that, but I think if I could do a better job in the initial contact, maybe, I don't know, then
Are you doing Zoom Smart Starts?
yes. Yeah, that's the process. It's the initial contact, and then it's the application, and then it's the smart start, and then we issue the pre-approval from there.
Are you doing the All About You form?
I send it. I've had very few people fill it out. And maybe that's what I'm saying is probably because I'm
we're
not doing the first step
getting
right.
somewhere.
Man. I don't know. I'm losing half my people somewhere in the mix to other lenders. Even, with what I can do as a Keller Advantage or anything like that. So I had a Keller agent that's not related to the team that found me because I'm a Florida licensed agent or MLO, and literally worked with her for 45 days, got all the way to the end, and she said, well, we're just going to go with Charles Schwab because they're going to give us a quarter point less than what you're giving us on our rate.
How'd that make you feel?
It pissed me off because it was a $700,000 deal. And I worked with her for 45 days and just got slapped in the face over 0.25%. I mean, so I don't know if I did anything wrong there, but maybe you can give me some insight on the creating the initial contact and having that stick better than going through the process and losing it halfway through.
Well, here's I just want to show you something. So I had these people were referred by Eli. He's their planner. This is his cousins. They're down in Atlanta. They want to move to Florida. They had blown me off on a couple meetings, and then like 20 minutes beforehand, I still didn't have this. And then we got on the Zoom call, and then I was like, hey, I don't have your All About You form, which helps me kind of structure our meeting and go through stuff. I think somebody's waiting. Admit. Andy Zeman, dude, the Zeminator. So I think when you forget that, remember, building rapport and like being able to keep this lady, and if she goes to an online lender to save the money at the very end, somewhere in there, if you're not getting, like, I made a big deal, and this was my most recent one of, okay, you know, when they wrote all this stuff, I literally read it back to them. Now I could see them just like I could see you. And I was like, oh, what did Eli say about me? I'm a nice person and I'm easy to work with. And they were like, yeah, he said you were really, you know, they started parroting shit, right? And then like, okay, here's all their yes. The biggest thing, I was like, understanding our options and what makes the most sense. And I was like, well, hey, that's why we're doing this meeting. Now, these guys are first-time home buyers. This lady, your lady you just lost, it was $700,000. We focused on this for about 5 minutes. They met in, they're from Cummings. They met down there. I asked them, you know, how come Ibiza? They love the idea. We used to watch that show, Wild on Ibiza. You know, this is just stuff and this dog, I forget what kind of dog it is, but point being is that if you skip any of this to kind of establish, all of this is rapport building and framing around your value. If you just kind of skip this and you're doing virtual smart starts, my guess is you're really just kind of getting to the turkey pretty fast, and like you're making it a transaction and you're not giving yourself to have a chance to have a relationship or slow down. I'm totally on Phil Jones's tip right now. His whole thing is slow down the process to speed up the execution. Like those are his words. So to me, if you're remote in Florida, you've got a bunch of big teams and everything is remote, spend some time figuring out how to build better chemistry while you're on the phone with them. And I would think it would come in the form of questions. And I'm constantly thinking of this because I was listening to a guy named Joe Stump, who you probably don't know who he is, Parker. Do you know who Joe Stump is? No. Well, he's the OG. Joe Stump's the OG. He was the guy that started this company called Buy Referral Only. And I think he always had an initial presentation that was focused on, hey, if I do a great job for you, Parker, I spend all my energy and effort making sure that our product and our process is so smooth that you'll become an advocate of mine at the end. And what an advocate does is they refer me to people. Sometimes they might refer me somebody during the process. And advocates are people that I stay in touch with, and I attempt to help you for the rest of time. For as long as I'm above ground pushing loans, Parker, my job would be, if you're an advocate of mine based on our product and process, I'll do whatever. I'll pick up the phone. I'll be there for you because my business is built by referral only. So does that sound like a fair proposition? If you really love my product and my process, that you would be an advocate for me?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel that's why I kind of asked them about the initial contact, because I feel like I do a really good job, you know, building the rapport, selling the self, closing the deal, asking for the business, getting the business. Maybe I should have more initial contact before, like I said, before I start the steps, like you said.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Hey, I would say, you know, Parker, it's hard to really dig deep and dissect it without seeing it or hearing it. So I would highly suggest record your initial contact on a few referral leads, and then record your next Smart Start that you do, and let's just dive in, right? Yeah. I mean, that's because, you know, what Brendan just said, that's you know, that's high level gold nugget stuff there that nobody
1992 shit.
Right. But
6 years later.
Right. But how many of us do that on a regular basis? Probably very few. So I think it's great stuff.
Parker,
hey, Parker,
go ahead.
Are you talking to them about the opt-out?
Yeah, that's part of the process. You know,
Are you
once-
offering to do it for them?
I have not.
That's a great nugget. If you let them know that there's a process available and you let them know about it and offer to handle that detail for them, then you know when it's completed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Well, not to mention, who wants to get hammered with calls for a month and a half? I mean, nobody
It's
does.
happened. I mean, literally, someone said, "Oh yeah, I did it." And then we go to pull it, and they're like, "Why am I getting all these phone calls?"
Right.
Like 14 in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was going to say too, Parker, this is April. I do a lot of Zoom smart starts when they can't come to the office. But what I do is a day before our Zoom, and even sometimes it might be up to a couple of hours before the Zoom, I follow up on the All About You form that was sent with the Zoom invite. I send the All About You and the Smart Start packet when I send the Zoom invitation. And in that body of the email, at the top part, I'm going to say what we're going to talk about, like a recap of when they booked on Calendly, on what to expect. And then I just say, please complete the All About You form and return it prior to our meeting so that I can structure our time together wisely. And so follow up on it, because shit, I'm not going to have time for you if you don't give me what I need.
Hey, you go to the doctor's office and you don't fill out their 12-page intake
You're
form.
not
Are they
going
gonna-
back to the doctor.
Are they going to see you? No. The
No.
lady at the front desk is going to say, "Mr. Maddox, you sit down. You complete this now."
Yeah.
I could definitely do a better job of that for sure.
And
Stay in
Parker,
control.
I think the other thing is it's just harder to build rapport and be likable on a video screen.
Yeah, I know.
So if this goes back to initial contact was your weakness, I want to keep going, but I like Michael's suggestion. I think the other thing, just take a shot of fucking tequila, smile a little more, like look a little happier.
Oh, I do. I'm a totally different person when I'm
Oh
presenting.
my God. Okay. Well then, by the way, I love that, but then that means you're faking it.
Well, I show more enthusiasm. I'm more energetic. You know, I'm not like monotone like I normally am, but.
Well, let me say this. Ben Affleck is getting a bunch of shit because all of his pictures, he has a resting bitch face. But he's a celebrity, and he's a producer, and he's married to Jennifer Lopez, I guess, for now. And, but I think half of it's a show. People need to see you. You need to be on, and I think, have the tools, especially, I would just feel, here's one recommendation, and then we're going to go to the Zeminator. I think you need to razz it up, and I think you need local business, man. Our business is a fucking burnout business if it's all over the phone and all video. I mean, shoot me now. I would go down to the Publix and bag groceries and be able to talk to people. This job, if you're stuck in your chair in your basement and I see your red shirt and you're wearing boxers and your wife is like, "Parker, get up here. The kids just spilled some milk." And you're like, "Hey, no, this bitch Sheila just fired me. I took her all the way down the aisle and now I'm getting roasted from Rocket Loans." I would go out with a BB gun and start shooting birds in the backyard.
I got one for the crows here. I'm kidding.
Okay. My point is I would shoot the songbirds. I would be angry.
Yeah.
So I just can't, this is the free Friday fun sales coaching / Smart Start Academy, everything. I can't coach people who don't do local business. If it's all over the phone, it's impossible to be successful. I'm just going to say that. And I don't care.
I agree.
Unless you have the next Costco account for 3 years, you are a human. You need human interaction. Go meet realtors in your market. Go meet financial planners. Suit up. I'm going to the Live Golf thing this afternoon. I just bought $400 worth of tickets. I'm going to go out and talk to realtors. You gotta be present. If you're just the rate jockey and this is all like Smart Start's just a technique to build rapport, which is just a technique to close, which is a technique to get paid, you're screwed. I don't teach this. I live this shit. So
I think you could do, listen, as you're doing work for your group, United Home Group, to Brendan's point, you could do both, right? There are local realtors, financial planners right in your community, right? You could cultivate that as you're working with UHG, right? So you can do it. I mean, you can. So
there's one guy in my county. He owns 3 market centers, and he sold like 2,600 homes just last year. And I've had 2 meetings with him already. Once he tried to recruit me, and the second one I went to him for the Agent Plus, and I'd like to get with Sam about it, Richard Carpenteri.
Oh yeah,
maybe we can take
I
a
think
stab
he's
at
2
him.
years out of prison. That guy, close
He's
him.
what?
2
Is
years
he?
out of prison. Anybody with a vowel in their last name. All right, so there's 4 parts to the sale: the initial contact, the building fuzzy and warm rapport, the closing, and the follow-up. Andy Zeman, what's your weakest one?
My weakest one is the follow-up, because I'm like a cat. I get bored if I catch the string and I want to move on to the next thing.
I love it. By the way, you weren't on. That was mine. That was Michael's. That was David Goldberg's. Parker was the first one that kind of had a different answer.
Hey, Debbie.
Hey, girl. Hey, quick.
Jesse, what's your weakness?
I guess mine is converting them into applications. Like I'm good at follow up once I get them. I'm good at initial contact, but I will talk to them for an hour. And if they're on the fence, I never want to like pressure them. And so I end up losing it because I don't like convert them. I don't, I guess, get them over that fence. If they're on the fence and they're not sure, that must be where it is for me.
So when you say they're on the fence, what does that sound like when they're there?
Well, they're looking at what they can afford and if they're comfortable with this payment, are they comfortable with the amount of cash they have to bring? Like there's so many, like I want them to be comfortable with the payment because I don't have to make it. So
okay, so how are you doing Smart Starts, or how are you showing them payments?
So I have kind of like a 50-50 on the Smart Starts. I do try to do them, but if they are like, if I'm in a competition for that loan kind of situation, then I kind of just do a consult.
Okay, but then how do you show them numbers?
For like payments and things.
Yeah.
So if the Smart Start, then I use the thing that John came up with where you do the, I don't remember, like compare different loans or whatever, and down at the bottom, the rent to own, like that mortgage scale. There you go. So I use that if they're doing a Smart Start. But if I don't do a Smart Start, if I've got somebody on the phone or something that I can't do a Smart Start with, then I'll just kind of run scenarios and say, well, it would be around X number of dollars per month and so much down payment.
And so if you're doing the scale, do you do it in front of them? Are you physically like printing it?
So normally I'll have it on my screen to show them so that if they want to make changes, they can kind of see them in real time.
Okay. So how about this? Jesse, so we've just kind of done a Smart Start. Has this last hour been helpful to you?
Yes.
And your husband?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, and I know we just went through, this says Jesse and her husband. Mm-hmm. And I know we kind of went through your income down here. You make more than your husband. Sorry, Dylan. No, sorry. I'm kind of role playing and having fun. And hey, we went through all your numbers, and these are estimates for you guys from 375 to 425. Right? Mm-hmm. You looking? You
yes,
look dazed. Yep. So you had mentioned that your lease was up in December.
Yes.
So tell me your plan from today, from the end of our meeting in a couple of minutes to what's your next step for you guys?
Well, I think we need to go home and kind of evaluate our budget and see if those payments align with our budget.
Now, you understand this, that most people on the All About You mark that they don't do a budget.
Okay.
So here's the thing, and it's kind of back to Parker. If you're not doing the steps to like disarm someone, you'll get bullshit deflection responses like that. Yeah, we just want to go back and figure it out. So I'm trying to ask you, what is your plan?
Okay,
And
so
then you
I would
just-
say that most of my people are like, I pay X now per month and I don't want to pay more than that. In my market where I'm at, there are
Okay.
so many investors that have 3% interest rates on their houses that it is more expensive to buy. Like they have to seriously get over
Okay.
that hump for me to convince them to buy. They may want to buy, they may have an emotional connection that they want to, but if they're going from, I'm using round numbers, $1,000 a month, and I'm like, hey, it's $2,100 for your dream home. Like they have a hard time emotionally getting over that hump for me. Like that's where I kind of like, I know you want to buy and I want to help you buy, but I don't have to spend, even though they can afford it. They're just at such a level of rent that's so much cheaper than buying right now.
But I don't
I
think,
mean,
say, let me time out real quick. Just my perception of what you're saying is I don't think you believe they should buy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I am hearing from you right now. And again, I could be totally wrong, but because what you're explaining is every single, well, 9 out of 10 of my first time home buyers, same thing, right? Like they're paying $1,500 in rent. Their new mortgage is going to be $3,300. And price, Sam, you know the term price conditioning, right? The way that you condition somebody to understand that it's okay to double your payment, because when you look at the investment portion of owning, right?
Yeah, Jesse, are you using the rent versus own to show people?
I do, yes. And that's kind of what I tell them. I say, a part of this is going to be equity in the house. A part of it is like putting money into a 401k for a future. Like you'll use that equity when you move up houses. And I do go through all that with them. I just, again, and I'm not saying that it's not me in the way that I do it. I just have a very hard time converting because I never want someone to be like, well, you pressured me into a loan.
Well, then,
like that, I just can't do.
Okay. Well, no one can.
No.
Right.
No one can. It's.
Well, bad lenders can. I'm not saying anyone on this call, but I'm just saying everyone's heard horror stories of lenders doing things that they shouldn't have. And so I just,
Okay. So here's the thing. If ultimately you're getting stalemated on the close, let's just pretend that somewhere in there, the people aren't either you just have a bad batch of leads that don't understand owning and they like renting, which we all on this call don't believe you.
Right.
I think if Phil Jones were sitting here and I'm just riding his coattail, you're not building enough intrigue or value to where they trust you.
Okay.
Mike just touched on it. You don't believe it. So here's a suggestion. Most people don't know what they want. Most people that say, hey, I'm renting for $1,200 and I don't want my payment to exceed whatever are baloney stackers because they don't do a budget. So they're interested in seeing, okay, here's this divide of $1,200 to $2,100. And oh God, could I really do this? And oh, hey, the net cost of renting is $14,700. The net cost of owning, before we even get into a potential tax refund, pretend this was a single person, like, hey, it's 23 and some change, but they're making an investment. So I always go back to this. I don't try to convince anyone of like what I think. This is, I go over to this. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. The mortgage scale. I go down to the debt to income and I say, hey, Fannie and Freddie, they don't want you to foreclose, Jesse. And this 45% debt to income number is based on your gross income. So when I see your numbers in the 24 to 31, you're being very concerned. Pretend that the $1,200 in rent and the $2,100 payment that I just showed you on the rent to own, now I've converted over to this. Mm-hmm. And this was $2,100. You follow?
Yeah, I do.
And the ratios, like it's hard to say to someone, oh, your ratios are only 44.95. Like you're not really pushing yourself. Bullshit, they're not. Like that's when you're just honest with people. And you can say.
Those are currently the people that I've got. They are pushing it. I haven't had very many people that are at like a 40% or less here recently.
Okay. Well, you've got shitty clients.
Well, and also too, look, maybe it's adjusting their price point, right? Because, what I talk about also is when I'm doing the rent versus own, and when I know payment is a concern, I know that in the very beginning, right? So I really focus on that as I'm doing the meeting. But, if their ratios are high, sometimes we'll need to bring down the purchase price a little bit, or let's look at their debt, right? If they have a $795 car payment, and they've got 6 payments left. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Let's look at what you're going to do on the next car.
Sure.
Let's take some of that money and put it into a home, which is going to appreciate over time. And let's be more responsible on that next purchase on the car, right?
Yeah.
Because guess what? By the time you close, you're only going to overlap 2 months between your mortgage and your car. And I'm just using this as an example. But also talk about, I say, affordability scale. Especially if somebody's like at a 38 ratio, hey, 1 to 10, my underwriters are going to look at your file. 1 is super, super conservative. 10 is you're buying way too much. You're about a 3.5.
I like that.
They can register. They know what that means. They don't know what a 44.9 ratio means. Let's not confuse people, right? You're the expert. You're the one guiding them to what Brendan's point was, right? They're looking for you for advice. Well, so these are just a couple ideas that you could look at. Or maybe they're going to scale back on their 401k contribution just a little bit. Maybe they get the max. They stop there where they're getting their match, and they're going to take that other $200 a month or a paycheck, and they're going to invest it into this investment, which is home ownership.
Michael, if you have a Zoom Smart Start, patch in Jesse. And
he has.
Okay, Jesse, I just think that there's some skill set. And by the way, I've managed a lot of loan officers, and then, my ops manager comes in and she's like, we need to shut the door. We're talking about Andy Zeman right now and his shitty loans. What do you mean? Well, every one of his loans is a 44.99, and then his crappy LOA John can't calculate income, and then it goes through underwriting. They lower the income, and then it's a disaster file with a decline, and then we have to scrape it together to get it through. By the way, I've managed those loan officers.
What are you doing hanging out in my office? Stop it.
Hey, Jesse, let me sit in on your next one. I'll watch you.
Well, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. The reason why I say you just have shitty clients, if you're telling me the truth and all your shit's at 45 and they all can't afford it, I mean, there are other ponds to fish in and other places to go, because mine aren't and other people's aren't. And I'm not saying that I don't help single moms and people of all ages and whatever, but back to Joe Stump before we go to the next person, because Wendy and April and a couple other people have to volunteer, and we got a couple AIs that we want to talk to. Joe Stump said this: Jesse, the quality of your life in business on a daily basis is dictated by the quality of your clients. If you plaster that on a wall and you get off a phone with a shitbag client with high ratios, with unrealistic expectations, say to yourself this: the quality of my life is dictated by the quality of my clients on a daily basis. Andy Garrettson had this awesome ass client. He's high-fiving me last Thursday saying, this Smart Start I did, I crushed it. He calls me 2 days ago, hey man, we got a multiple bid. What do I do? The listing agent's kind of a tool bag. Well, guess what? Andy wins. Deal's closing in 3 weeks. We talked yesterday. Andy, are you still on? Is he still on?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go through your weakness here in a second. But the bottom line is we're high-fiving, and I said, Andy, can you imagine if 5 of those closed every month? You know what he said to me? He pulled out the Chevy Chase line from Vacation. He's like, I would be whistling Dixie from my butthole every day.
Zippity doodah.
Zippity doodah.
Damn yours.
I did not say that. Andy did say that. There's 2 Andys on this call. Andy, what's your so Jesse, we want to help, but we also want to toughen you up a little bit so that you become a closer. And some of that is just you believing in you. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
And using little trick things to help your brain go, I got to refocus.
Invite me to your next Smart Start. I'd love to sit in.
Yeah. Andy, Wendy, and April. What are your weaknesses? And Aaron.
I'll go real quick. I'm probably going to go with the initial piece, and more so when it comes to framing Smart Start.
Okay.
I feel like I find myself saying like, hey, our process is not like most most lenders, especially if they've gotten loans before. But if they're a first-time home buyer, it's a little bit easier. But hey, our process is a little different. We have a meeting. I go through the meeting, and this is all based on a realtor that's not teeing up the Smart Start. So I feel like all the other pieces have good control of, but it's just that initial frame I could always get better at.
Okay, so back to my guy, Phil Jones, word swap. So I heard the word different, and that doesn't sound good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So you just said, hey, our process is a little different. What if you said, hey, we've designed a process that's a lot more engaging for our clients so that they can get answers to their questions that they really have?
Yeah.
Sounds a lot better.
It's good.
There you go. Change one damn word.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we were trying to get people to do 5-year planning for real estate. If you guys have it, it's the Pathways meeting to do a 5 to 7 year real estate and mortgage planning guide. By the way, it freaking works. It's awesome when you sit your clients down, because we all hate making follow-up calls to our past clients to talk about their 3.5% rate. But if you said, hey, I want to do this, by the way, true story, I want to do a 5-year planning guide for you, they don't respond to that either. So what we now just say is, hey, it's a mid to long-term planning session. Mid to long-term, which, by the way, the average human thinks mid-term is about 6 months out. No one wants to do a 5-year planning guide, but hey, a mid to long-term planning guide, yeah, we'll do it. So Andy, with your initial contact, we just have a much more engaging meeting that really answers our clients' questions. And we've taken the time to lay out, to actually invest in some tools that'll really help you understand your situation more clearly. So I normally have those meetings at 1, 2, and every now and again on a Saturday morning for clients that just can't fit in the box. When can you come in and see me, Sam?
Tomorrow, Brendan.
Okay. Well, that would actually, I'm going to be hungover from the Live Tour hanging out with Bryson DeChambeau tonight. By the way, he was taking the mug around in Nashville on Wednesday night or Tuesday night. Wendy, what is your weakness?
I don't know what you're talking about, Brendan. I don't really have any weaknesses.
Yeah. Well, one of them is listening, because I know you were on the phone closing some deal.
No, not at 7 o'clock in the morning on West Coast time. No, I actually have been on the phone with clients this morning since 6 o'clock, though.
Oh.
So initial contact, building rapport, closing, or follow up. Which one is less good than the others?
I would say closing lately. So I work remotely. I think we've talked about that. I mean, I work remotely. I'm an all self-gen remote person. I do a lot of networking, sponsoring $1 million golf hole in a couple of weeks. So, but it's the not having people shop me. I do have a success story. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about weaknesses right now, because there's been some bullshit stuff going on this week. Pardon my language. It's not how I usually talk.
We cuss on this call.
I know you do. I know. I had a meeting in person this week. I don't usually do my meetings in person because I get a lot of referrals from prior clients and things like that. And I did have the conversation with this person that I'm going to go through this whole thing. You told me not to make it seem so easy, because what we do is not easy. And this week is full proof of it. I told them about going through the whole process and doing the whole pre-approval And this is a lot of work, and I'm happy to do it for you. But what I need from you, I may not be the cheapest person in the long run, but I will be the person who holds your hand and answers the phone at 5 o'clock in the morning when you call. So I just need a commitment that you're going to stick with me, that I'm going to be your main person. And because we still don't take the little deposits up front in our company.
Okay.
So
here's the thing.
And they said, of course. And I'm like, we'll see how that goes. So I didn't say that, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool.
I think the more you push into that feeling of asking for it, the better it's going to get. Yep. And the more you become comfortable just saying, hey, my time is, I'm going to give you a 6 on that one out of 10.
Okay.
They took it and they said yes. You'll only know when they close, did they not give you a false positive, right?
Right.
So I think what I want you to do more of, Wendy, is just say, hey, my time is really valuable and you got referred to me and I want to put all of my time and energy into your loan and the process so it's smooth. And here's what I ask in return. Don't say, hey, I think my rates are more expensive. Just say, hey, I don't set the terms that my company offers. I just offer them to you. And I have thousands of past clients that loved my product, my process, and my rates. And here's one thing I always know, Fred and Linda and Sam, the redheaded stepchild, there's always going to be some discount lender out there that's holding out some cheap rate. But here's the thing. I don't know if they're available and they put as much energy and time into your transaction so that it's smooth. And the one thing I do know is that creates a ton of stress, and my expertise around just helping you negotiate. When I have your upfront loan approval, I can make calls on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. I can talk to listing agents. I can basically help you get across the finish line. So with all that said, I just like to know up front that my clients are committed to working with me. And I ask that of you because I want to, keep working with you throughout forever till the end of time. So is that a fair proposition, Fred, Sam, and Linda? Is that a fair proposal?
Right.
Oh yeah, Wendy, that's great. We love you. You're awesome. Like all these steps, we wouldn't go anywhere else. Cool. Every now and again, they might go somewhere else. By the way, when someone does do that and you did get a buy-in, you could say, hey, what changed? Because on June 21st, everybody was committed to this. What happened? Well, yeah, remember how you said that there's like other lenders that are cheaper? Well, we found one. All right, so you're a liar. All right.
Couple minutes left.
April, was yours initial contact, or did I call on you?
No, you haven't called on me. Mine is follow-up.
Follow-up.
I think I do pretty good on initial contact, building rapport, closing the deal. It's the follow-up for me for
cool.
So I'm going to say the follow-up, and I think it's because sometimes I get a little in the weeds with some other previous files that might have had a lot of dangling ends and complexities to it. And so I'm starting to kind of not put so much time into it in order to do better at follow-up for some other folks that have submitted docs or whatever the case may be that might need analyzed.
I think we may have a good topic for next Friday.
Yeah, following up.
Time management / follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right. I mean, that's the salesperson's weakest part.
I think one of the things that one of the problems is that we don't set clear expectations on what the timeline should be. So I just texted Andy because he had to jump off saying, hey, follow-up tips coming. And I think, Michael, one of the things that we have to do better is that we have to be really crystal clear with the follow-up timeline for the client. Mm-hmm. Because what if we said this at the end of every Smart Start, that we knew they needed to think about it? Well, hey, Michael, Allison, was this helpful?
Oh, yeah, it was super helpful. Thank you.
Tell me how. Just give me one line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just the amount of equity that we're going to build over the next 10 years, we really never gave it a lot of thought. This is crazy.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's why when you I got your name, you got mine 2 weeks ago. We took the time, we set this meeting. We spent we spent 45 minutes, we spent an hour. So from here, I have this your next steps and follow up. It's a piece of paper. It's right here in front of us. And here's my thought. I'm terrible at follow up, Michael and Allison.
Yeah.
And I went to this therapist coach, and I figured out that one of the reasons why I'm terrible at follow up is I feel like I'm trying to convince people to do something that's for me and not for them.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I'd like to do is this thing says next steps. Here's what I'd like to get permission from you for. I'm going to do this mortgage scale. It'll be organized. It'll be detailed. We had a couple things that we talked about. Michael, your commissions, Allison, your side business, and we got to tighten that up so that we know your full range.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you said was, what can we truly afford?
Right.
So I guess with your permission, what I'd like to do is send follow-up maybe in the next day, an email, and then I just want to get a yes or no back from you about the next time that we should schedule that works for your timeline, that you feel like, because your rent's, up in February. And my recommendation would be that we do the official pre-approval by the end of August. And the reason being is that you do have everything in place to where you could exit that rental early. So what are your thoughts about us following up with each other and that timeline to kind of re-engage?
Yeah,
now,
that sounds great.
That took about 90 seconds. And I think I kind of let the air out of the bag, because I do feel like most of us feel like we're salespeople when we follow up. Yep. Versus just like, hey, can I get your permission? Because does a doctor follow up after they give you the results? The answer is no.
Mm-mm.
Now,
Right.
if you didn't choose their heart clinic, somebody from their clinic might say, hey, you had the initial walkthrough. We know you need the surgery. Like, what's going on, Michael?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, maybe we play
That's
around with better strategies to follow up that allow clients to feel less hawked.
Right.
Because if you had it, I had it, David had it, Andy had it, Zeman, like, that's a pretty big problem for us to have, because follow-up's where you make the money.
Right.
And
you're talking about prior to them committing or after they're
I just
already
think,
approved or pre-approved?
Michael, I get a lot of leads that aren't ready to do anything.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, for sure. We could talk about that. Why don't we talk about that next week, and we could go through our system and how we do it.
Okay, beautiful. Hey, I wouldn't mind if we featured your MRO and use that as part of the backbone.
Yeah, we could look at it for sure. Yeah.
Sam, what's that shirt mean? Come on, stand up. Oh, it's like a logo.
Yeah, it's a Keller Home Loans logo, dude.
Hold.
I couldn't see the top of it.
Yeah, we just see the top.
Just the top?
I couldn't see the bottom. Excuse me. I only could see the top. Well, good call. I think it's fun to kind of make sure that we're always kind of knowing that there's an area where we stink, and can we just move the needle a little bit to kind of make it, because if it helps us close one more deal, like Wendy had said, hey, she got that commitment from the client because she had the courage to ask. So like, everybody needs to make that effort to get a little uncomfortable in sales to where it feels a little weird, like a new golf swing, to be able to improve. So I tease a lot of you, but I thank you for coming on this call. And all of the AIs on this call, you guys can go screw yourself. And if you don't know what that means, look it up on someone else's AI, because we got like 11 AIs on here.
Jeez, crazy.
Brendan, you said something awesome, right? It's the courage to ask.
Sure.
We just hired a good, $100 million producer, and I asked him, what do you do? And he goes, I just ask. He asks incessantly, 17 different ways. all the time, nonstop. He's pretty abrasive guy, but he just asks. And what he says is all the young people today, they just don't know how to ask, in his very throaty and raspy New York accent.
So he just asked the client to commit for the business?
He asks everybody, the realtors to send him people, the clients to commit. He closes all the time by simply asking relentlessly. So you brought it up, and it's a fact.
Yeah, hey, and I think it all depends on how we like getting closed, but I bet he's pretty good at saying, hey, you know, he's probably got a lot of open-ended things that he just says ultimately, hey, let's do this, right? What are we waiting for?
There's not an ounce of finesse in him.
Yeah.
He's a bull in a china shop, but he asks nonstop.
Yeah, you ask and you shall receive.
And by the way, I do think that that's a common trait of like big producers. They're not afraid.
Fearless.
When you say the 100 million people, yeah, they are closers.
No other way to look at it.
By the way, a lot of times their process is not any better. It most likely is worse than ours.
There's almost no process.
Yeah.
All right, boys and girls. Till next time.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Adios.
Thanks, Sam.